I've trained calisthenics for 10 years. I've solely focused on strength. But what's on the other side? What can we learn from endurance? This is my journey to running a 70-kilometer ultramarathon in Japan. Okie dokie, boys and girls, it is day 30 of Road to Shimanami, and with that, 30 days in a row of running 10 kilometers every day has been completed. And this wasn't easy by any means, it was actually way harder than I expected. So today I'll just be talking about the challenge, and well, I've got some chapters prepared. I've got some points I want to talk about, and I'm gonna put them as chapters in the video, so you can just skip to the parts you find interesting. And in the meantime, you'll probably be seeing like today's leg day being displayed. So I still do strength training. I'll talk about that as well in today's video. But the leg day I did today is basically just a leg day that I do in order to maintain my strength for the most part, right? So anyway, when it comes to today's topics or chapters, I guess, well, we have why I chose to do this, my experience during the challenge, my biggest lesson or lessons learned, what I liked and disliked about this challenge, how did it affect my physique and my strength. I've actually done a tiny bit of posing today, so I guess I will display that as well. And then in the end, should you do the challenge, right? That's going to be the 6 topics I'm going to talk about today. That's also the only memo I took, so yeah, just in order to not forget anything. But first of all, why I chose to do this challenge, well, as you see, or maybe you could see from the intro, I am running a ultramarathon in Japan in March, and basically I'm training for this. But when it comes to why I chose to do an ultramarathon in the first place, well, basically now it's 2026, so I am training for almost 10 years, and I've always focused on strength, and calisthenics. I never did any strength training besides calisthenics, really, so everything was just body weight mostly. And so I did a lot of skills, and lately I've been bulking and this and that, but I've never really done any endurance. And the reason I never did any endurance was because basically I told myself I was very bad at it, right? So I did do some running when I still did judo, right? And I would always get tired and then or try to do it continuously, but get tired and not see any progress, and I would just give up. I had tried to run like a half marathon twice and failed. And when on the third time I did it, like it was 2 hours and 40 minutes, so like insanely slow. So I had given up, right? I had told myself like, hey, running is not for me. I'm just never going to be able to run a marathon. I'm never going to be able to do anything remotely impressive or cool in the running. So I should just not do it, right? And then I saw this video of a guy, like a Japanese guy, doing the One Punch Man challenge, which, if you know, it's 100 push-ups, 100 sit-ups, 100 squats, and a 10-kilometer run every day. And this guy, he was in his mid-40s, right? He didn't have any previous running experience, or seemingly not at least. And basically, he has this short 4-minute transformation video. I'll try to remember to put it in the description, but it's this 4-minute video where he lists his goal of, I want to lose some weight, I want to run a marathon, this and that. And you think it's gonna be just some weight loss journey, but he just smashes his weight goal in like 5 months when he had a year, and then he starts running like full marathons and ultra marathons, and he starts from like the first month like absolutely destroying himself and not being able to run, to overcoming that and doing these insane challenges. And actually this year the guy's gonna complete that challenge, right? He's gonna be able to complete the 3 years of One Punch Man training, which if after 3 years One Punch Man became so strong that life became boring for him, right? But I saw the video and I was thinking to myself, like, holy shit, I'm just lying to myself. I'm not necessarily bad at running. I may be bad at running, but the truth is, I don't know, right? Because I've never given it an honest go. And that's about 600 days ago when I watched that video. And ever since then, I've been running 5 kilometers every day. Not fast, like nothing, no impressive speed. Basically, during this bulk, I still continued the 5 kilometers a day, and I was doing it in about 32 to 33 minutes, about 9 kilometers an hour or 11-minute miles. So very slow, right? And so I'm not a complete beginner in running, but I had some experience, because I thought like, hey, I'm gonna have to start somewhere. I have to, I'm gonna try and run those 5 kilometers every day. But now after this bulk, like I had this point where I was just satisfied, right? I just given it my all for a complete year. I may not have reached all of my bulking goals, but you know, still I was satisfied, right? And it felt like a good point to start the endurance because I don't want to, die and not know if I was capable. So it may sound dramatic, but that basically is what it boils down to. So there was this desire to now like see if I'm actually bad at running. That's what I'm gonna find out by doing this ultra marathon, right? And the first part of that marathon, well, if you're doing an ultra marathon, you need to be able to run distance. You need to be, run a lot, right? Obviously. And so the first part of that training was the 10 kilometers every day. It was just a simple routine that I could follow. I like routine. So it's just a simple thing that I could follow, and that's why I chose it, which is a very long way to explain it. But hey, let's move on to topic number 2, my experience during this challenge. How did it go, right? And like I mentioned, it was not easy. It was way harder than I expected. I expected like, hey, I've been running 5 kilometers every day for 600 days, right? I'm gonna cut down a little bit on the strength training. 10 kilometers a day is gonna be a breeze. I'm just gonna have to get used to it a little bit, and then after 2 weeks, I'll be able to increase the distance even more. Nothing could have been less or further from the truth, right? So what actually happened is I started running every day, and it was like 1 hour and 6 minutes, and then 1 hour and 5 and 4, and basically getting faster with about 1 minute to 2 minutes every day. Great, right? And then suddenly on day number 6, my hips started flaring up immensely, and then all of a sudden, like, I barely could walk. And it's one of those times, not the only time there is during this challenge, where I felt like I couldn't go anymore. I felt like giving up. And basically, from that point, the first injury to basically like a week ago and even a little bit now, it was just survival. Nothing was about 30 days anymore. It was just about, or getting like a couple weeks and then doing even more. It was just about survival, because after the hip, it was like my feet and my shins were actually quite fine, but like my ankles and my calves and everything just started playing up, right? And so my experience was just, you have an injury, you deal with it, right? It gets better, and then you fight something else. That's basically how it's been going. And now I've kind of weathered the storm, but my body had a lot of trouble adapting to the challenge. So that's my honest experience. Like, I've thought about giving up multiple times. So take that how you will, but that's kind of how it went. And so I expected this challenge to like kind of take an hour a day, but in reality, it's like an hour or more of running, right? Because I run very slow now in order to keep up. And then you also have some like exercises to take care of your body and the stretching and stuff, right? So yeah, definitely not as easy as I thought, but in doing so, I guess I will move on to the biggest lessons I learned. I learned a lot, right? So first of all, one of the biggest lessons, and I guess this is with every challenge you do, is at some point you're gonna bump into something, right? You're gonna bump into an obstacle, and then you have a decision to make. Like, hey, are you gonna give up? Are you gonna quit? Or are you gonna continue? And that was something that had happened this challenge multiple times. It happened every day, right, for a while. And I at some point I was, like I said, I was barely able to walk. I just got out of bed and I wasn't even thinking about the 10 kilometers every day. But you get through those days, and it might take 1.5 hours to complete the 10 kilometers, but you learn that you always have an option of just continuing, right? And that's a very big lesson I learned. And also, of course, I learned a lot about how to take care of my body, how to actually run and still recover, how to do the easy days, right? And it's not perfect yet. I still have to figure out how to do the easy days properly, but you kind of learn how to manage your body, because you have no choice, right? The benchmark is to run 10 kilometers every day. It doesn't matter how long it takes, but you have to do it. And so you kind of force yourself to, adapt, improvise, adapt, overcome. That's basically, you learn during this challenge in the first period that you can overcome a lot. At least that's something I experienced. I didn't expect it to get this hard, but when it got this hard, I also didn't expect to be able to continue, which I did in the end. And so, yeah, that's kind of what I learned. But let's move on. What I liked and disliked about this challenge. Well, what I liked is the fact that, well, I like routine. I'm a guy, I wake up basically at the same time every day almost. Then I go for a run. Then I go to work. I come back. I train. And in between I eat, right? And then I go to bed. That's the same thing I do every day. And it's like, I like that I'm basically able to get this little check every day. Every day there's just goal, and it's not easy, but it's doable, and you can continue it. And it's very simple, right? And you don't have to ask yourself a lot of questions because basically your task is the same. It's like I mentioned, it's a good routine, right? And it gives you a challenge every day, and that's what I liked about it. And to be honest, like there are things that I guess dislike about the challenge, but at the same time I don't. So for example, I dislike the fact that I was basically in a lot of pain for a large part of the challenge. I dislike the fact that there is a lot of, or not a lot of flexibility. I dislike the fact that you have to stay very disciplined, because even though you might feel like you're able to do more, you have to kind of hold back in order for your body to recover for 1 or 2 days a week that are a bit harder, right? So you have to be very disciplined in your recovery, very disciplined in like rehab exercises and basically how you train, right? There is not a lot of leeway. And I guess I could say that those are all things that I dislike, but in all honesty, I wouldn't want it any other way at the moment, right? It's a difficult way to train. There are way more efficient and probably safe ways of training. But at the same time, I don't dislike it. I'm gonna have to run an ultra marathon in Japan. It's gonna be 70 to 80 kilometers long. There's gonna be points where I'm gonna wanna quit, and I feel like this challenge is allowing me to kind of prepare for that. And so, even though there's all of these uncomfortable things about the challenge, I don't necessarily dislike them. So I guess I like the fact that there is a lot of uncomfortability in this challenge as well. I like the fact that there's things that I dislike. So I don't really like that's a bit of a circle. I like the fact that there are things I dislike, so I don't dislike them as much, but I guess that goes in circle. You get what I'm saying, right? Anyway, let's move on. How did it affect my physique and strength? This is actually a comment I've been getting a lot as well. Your physique is gonna go down the drain and your strength is gonna go down the drain. I guess so at some point, right? At the moment, it's actually quite fine. I haven't lost a lot of strength. I'm still doing my leg day. Actually, today's leg day was the first when I struggled to kind of maintain my strength. I'm doing pistol squats with 30 kilos and Nordic curls, but it's also because I did intervals. That's also because I had to bike to work today. So that's 3 hours of cardio, and then you get back home and you have to do a leg day, right? I guess it's normal that it feels a bit harder, but when it comes to like strengthening the physique, of course, right? Your body only has so much energy to spend. No matter how much you eat, there is a limit to how much you can recover. And so I dialed down the strength a little bit. There are a lot more easy days. I think about 4 days a week that are kind of easy, where I do hand balancing stuff and things like that. So I'm not training strength as hard as I used to, but I am maintaining it at the moment, right? I'm not getting weaker at least, which I think is, that's great, right? I can't expect anything more, but I wouldn't say my strength is affected, but my strength training is affected. I cannot, like in the bulk, I trained push, pull, and then quadriceps, hamstrings. And I went hard every day. I cannot do that anymore because if I do, well, then my body is just gonna break down. So I am not training as much strength anymore, but that does not necessarily mean I am getting weaker for the moment. 10 kilometers a day, it's a lot, but it's not that much that you are not able to maintain any strength anymore, right? There are people running 250 kilometers a week. Those people are going to see strength drops, right? But for me, like 10 kilometers a day is kind of beginner level still, right? So that's kind of okay. And when it comes to the physique, you're not going to lose muscle unless you're losing weight rapidly. And that's one of the struggles as well, is, well, basically you have to eat a lot because you're running a lot, right? So for me, the struggle is to kind of maintain my weight. I am, battling it by drinking a liter of whole milk a day and basically stuffing myself on a daily basis. And still it's like a struggle to keep on the weight, right? But as long as you can keep on the weight and you do a bit of maintenance for strength, I feel like you will relatively be able to, keep your physique. So I did a little bit of posing. I don't think my physique got significantly smaller. Holy shit. But, it's only been 30 days, so I guess that's kind of normal. I just try to eat as much as possible. I guess that's the Master Roshi way, right? You train hard, work hard, study well, and eat and sleep plenty. Working hard, that's the training. Running in a disciplined manner, not just running as hard as possible, but also properly doing the recovery days. Then studying well, seeing how your body reacts learning from it, adapting to it. That's a big part, right? You're not just gonna blindly be able to blindly walk through this if you're a beginner, right? And then you have sleep, well, that's obvious, and eat well, right? Eat a lot. That's the main part. But yeah, I think at the moment my physique and my strength is fine. So should you do it? Should you do the challenge? Well, I think this challenge is great, but it's meant for a small percentage of people, right? Not everyone wants to like jump into endurance and suddenly risk injury, right? There is, like I said, there is a lot of better ways to get stronger at running. So this challenge is not purely about, being able to or becoming able to run fast quickly. Rather, it's just if you're someone who likes routine and who just likes to, do something daily and kind of like likes the mental challenge as well, I think this is for you because once you're able to get those 10 kilometers a day comfortably, you're gonna be strong as hell. Like I've noticed, like I was complaining earlier that I've noticed injuries and struggled with injuries. Yes, I did. Yes, I do. It's still a bit going on. But I also noticed today, for example, that I'm just getting stronger in the running. I'm getting quicker. My conditioning is getting better. Like 10 kilometers used to be something at the end of the bulk where like holy shit, like I'm done, right? But now it's just like I said, my body has adapted to, or at least my lungs and like my muscles have adapted to running those 10 kilometers. It's not that much of a challenge anymore. So, you know, your body doesn't just adapt to what you have to do daily. Your body adapts to a point where it's able to do much more than that, just not on a daily basis. So, for example, I've run 50 kilometers in the past one time. And yes, it took me a long time, like 5.5 hours, but I did that challenge based on running 45 kilometers a week, right? So my day or my week to week running was nowhere near what I did on the 50-kilometer run, but your body just adapts to a point where it's able to do so. So imagine running 10 kilometers every day, you're going to be able to do even more, right? So I think this routine is for people, or this challenge is for people who like routine and, enjoy kind of the mental challenge as well, because there's going to be days where you don't want to do it at all, right? Often, and still you have to do it. And if you like that part, then I think this challenge is for you. And well, if you purely care about performance, then there are other ways. There are other ways of running that are more flexible, allow you rest days and this and that. So I guess if you're more about that and just doing the most efficient training or doing the training that fits your schedule, then I wouldn't do this challenge. But anyway, that's gonna be it for today's video. Of course, this is not the last day that I'm running 10 kilometers. Tomorrow, I'm just going at it again at 4 a.m. actually, because god damn it, I have some work going on as well. But yeah, the challenge is it's only started. This is the first 30 days, but I guess it's 60 days more until the Shimanami cycling road. And well, I guess I have to train hard, study well, and eat and sleep plenty in order to get there. Yeah, I'll see you tomorrow for another running and training day.